Hello. Why do you guys keep calling me a beaver? I already have enough. I was beefing with everyone over Pearl Kit the entire day. I'm gonna be honest. I think there's better things you probably could have used your time on. Take it from the guy who used to constantly make videos trying to change people's minds on things. You never change anyone's mind. Pearl was a disappointment. I really don't think Pearl is that bad. I feel like a lot of my community thinks she's worse than she is. I don't think Pearl is bad, but she's not Hyacine for Cassie, and also she's pretty niche. Really, really, really niche actually. Not pretty niche. If we considered Hyacine a niche sustain before, this is ultra niche. The only thing this does, I guess, is it adds more stock to my prediction that Astra from the ZZZ collab is probably going to be a sustain, and they're going to give us Astra for free. So, I mean, if that's what it's leading up to, I guess I don't care that much. The only annoying thing is you just have to wait a little longer, you know? You have to wait an extra 3 months for that ZZZ collab. Is the Silver Wolf Bitcoin useless or not? What do you mean? If Silver Wolf is stronger, yeah. Sustained Silver Wolf teams are way stronger now with Pearl. I already said that in my videos pretty easily. It's once again, you guys need to understand, Silver Wolf has basically been using nothing on her team in the 4 slot. Unless it's sustainless. If she's using sustain, the 4 slot does absolutely fucking nothing for her. The max any sustain could possibly do was E1 Huohuo with a small speed buff and energy regen for Yao Guang. So Pearl will automatically just be a noticeable performance increase in any sustaination team, period. But especially Silverwolf's, since I do think she has the best synergy with Silverwolf specifically. Because you have the thing where it's she gives 30 certified bangers, 60 punchline, but it goes away at the end of an extra turn. But Silverwolf with her ult retains it as MMR. The MMR doesn't disappear from the punchline gain. So you can tell Pearl is a little more focused towards Silverwolf than other Elation DPSs, because the other Elation DPSs are just going to instantly lose the Certified Banger and Punchline, and then they can't really take advantage of it again. Like, you give an extra turn to Avin, for example, what is he going to do? An extra skill? His skill doesn't matter. Like, his skill does absolutely nothing. What matters for Avin is his ult and his follow-up with Aha Instant. So he doesn't actually benefit all that much from Pearl's ult, for example. So I do think Silverwolf benefits the most out of all the Elation DPSs in terms of the value of Pearl's action advance. Hello. Nihilux should be the final character for Silverwolf's team? No. I don't think so. It doesn't make sense. It could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't, but logically it does not make sense. Because with Pearl, as much as I wish she was a little more, Silverwolf sustain teams are now probably, if they aren't number one, they're like at the top. Competitive with like Himiko and all the other sustain teams and blah blah blah, cost versus cost. So to add Nihilux on top of that in Silverwolf's team doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Silverwolf's team would then have like a monopoly on being the strongest team in this version, you know. I don't think I think Nihilux is going to be a main DPS. They don't care about Sparksy? No, they do care about Sparksy. If they didn't, you guys need to realize, if it weren't for so many of things in Pearl's kit saying use for elation, otherwise this buff is basically completely useless, what this incentivizes is not using Sustainless with Rob and SP, not using Sustainless with Emblade. It forces you, in order to get the max value out of Pearl, to run another Elation teammate, right? It forces you to. So this lessens the competitors against Sparksy in a best-in-slot Silverwolf team, because of all the things in Pearl's kit that are really reliant on full mono elation. Oh, thank you for the donations, eh? Oh, thank you for the other donations, eh? I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Let's get you big pants to fit all the guys in. Nice. You can just sub EMC in, no? Yes, but Sparksy is probably going to be better than EMC is my point. And then Sparksy also has vertical investments that are really good for Silverwolf as well. So, like, sure, but it's like the Cassie Evernight situation. You can use Cassie Evernight with RMC, And in a lot of cases, it's pretty close if you play it correctly by switching the buff and the action advance to actually using Cyrene for them. So it's not that Cyrene is this game changer for Cassie plus Evernight, but she is a slight upgrade in most case scenarios, and then she has the vertical investment to go into as well. That's kind of Sparksy's place, I guess, in Silverwolf's Elation team, is a bit Cyrene-esque in Mono Rem. Now, yeah, she's the least valuable, right? Like, yes, she's the least valuable upgrade on that entire team. I'm not arguing otherwise. But, like, someone on the team needs to take the hit of being the least valuable. It just is how it is. At least for Sparksy, she was released in 4.0, while Cyrene was released, like, at the end of the version, right? Like, at least you get more longevity out of Sparksy before she gets kicked out. At least. What is the biggest upgrade, Ashvale E1 or Robin E1? Likely Robin E1. Because of Emblade already having vulnerability, like he has like 50% vulnerability buffing or something, it dilutes the total value of Vuln from Ashvale's E1. So it's like Ashvale's E1 is still good, but the average 30% vulnerability turns to around a 20% total damage increase, which is actually like right there with Robin's E1, but the difference between Ashvale and Robin is that Robin's E2 is next, and Robin's E2 is way, way better than Ashvale's E2. Ashvale basically only has his E1, so it's better to go for Robin E1 in this case, since that next step up, if you want to go for it at some point, it's much better to have it available for Robin. Yao Guang slander was the greatest genjutsu the community ever created. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it. I've talked about it too many times, and I get frustrated every time I get reminded of it. Yao Guang beta. But yes, I'm pretty sure I've been saying since Yao Guang beta, in my history of looking at HSR betas, the dumbest Doom posting, not the worst, but the dumbest, and the one that made the least sense if you actually read the character's kit, was Yao Guang's. Yao Guang's Doom posting had the least evidence for it, but it was all like feels craft and emotion, nothing to actually do with the facts. I think it's funny to look at Yao slander now. I mean, for me, it's just a thing of I just don't like thinking about it anymore. I didn't find it that funny. I didn't find it funny at all when I was making my videos, trying to explain her value in the Elation teams. So every time I think about it, it just reminds me of the months I spent trying to explain to people and like clarify things, and it didn't really help that much. The fact it gave you slight trauma is crazy. I mean, it's just because I was really passionate about it. That might have been the most passionate I've been about, clearing up misinformation around a character in the history of HSR. But the reason why it annoyed me so much wasn't necessarily just because of the effort I was putting in, but like, no matter how much effort I put in, it didn't matter. Like, I try to explain it, and I do like all my points and I show everything in like a Reddit sub or something, downvoted instantly. A ton of comments, no one cares. I make a community post, at least people on my channel, you know, obviously they follow me, so they're more likely to take my opinion seriously. But even on my channel, it was like 50-50, with people saying like, dude, you're trying too hard to push Yao Guang or something, right? Then you have like videos with tens of thousands of views telling their audiences, you know, Yao Guang probably will get replaced, or Sparkle might be better, or a generalist might, you know, it was it was like the moment I realized it doesn't matter what I say. That's why I took such a long break after. It was like, fuck, man. It doesn't really matter what I say. Oh yeah, and Twitter was the worst pusher of Yao Guang agenda. That she'd be ass. Like, a majority of Yao Guang doom posting came from people who looked at HSR meta on Twitter. That's where a majority of where it was coming from, not even like YouTube and stuff. Did you see the newest King boss? No. Why? Is it another shill boss for me to complain about? I can check. Ugh. Nanoka. Burp. When an enemy target is attacked, they gain a shield equal to 1% of their max HP. When an enemy target uses an attack, if the attacked ally target has a shield, increases the damage dealt by the enemy target. If you use a shielding sustain, the enemies do double the damage. What? Why? There's no way you want to shill Pearl this badly that you go out of your way to fuck over Dan Heng PT. Each time after the enemy target is attacked, the attacker will lose HP equal to 2% of their own max HP. The buffs are 50% merrymaking for elation, 50% res pen for skill damage and ultimate damage, and then increase the speed of an ally by 80%. Okay. Oh my god, it has the lighthouse mob with its damage reduction. What does the boss do? This boss can restore its own HP. It getting attacked frequently action advances it. It increases its speed when gaining Eye of Veracity. I don't know, man. This is just disgusting. What the fuck am I looking at? I don't know. 2 knights are corruption level 3. Wait, actually? They're actually increasing the corruption level? They have 2 Elation bosses on the Knights as well. Knight 1 is Pom Pom and Knight 2 is Eelwish. Yeah. Um... I mean, I hate AA. Like, I hate AA. I don't think I really need to say it anymore. That mode fucking sucks in terms of anti-shill and shill. I guess Gabby was right when he said if you see Twitter overhype new character kit, you know the character is cooked. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it holds up to this day. I haven't been seeing like any recent Pearl stuff on Twitter anymore because I don't really get recommended it as much. But I wouldn't be surprised if Pearl's getting glazed a lot, surprisingly. I feel like Pearl might be getting overly glazed, in my opinion. I actually found out recently that the Elation damage buff... I was sleepy as shit yesterday, so my brain wasn't even working correctly. The Elation damage buff, that's 40% for the next attack, which would be strong if it was a permanent buff. It only applies to an AHA instant, because the only time you're going to be able to use a Pearl Elation skill is on AHA instant, and Pearl goes first. So how it works is everybody else's Elation skill just gets like a 40% damage increase, which isn't bad, but that's nowhere near as strong as a consistent 40% damage increase for every attack. That means more attacks than not from the team aren't going to be buffed by the Elation skill at all. So her only buff is her ult. It's the only buff, really. That holds that much value, which is like, I mean, once again, she's an upgrade just because every other sustain option for Silverwolf is so garbage. Like, the other sustain options are so trash that even a kit this mid is enough to be like a probably 30 to 40% increase, I'd imagine, for the sustain team. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like even 10% more, depending on like her personal damage, because there is a part of her personal damage on the EBAs that scales off of like your main DPS's stats, if that's good enough, maybe. Why is Pearl getting glazed? I don't know. Like, I don't know if she's getting glazed. I don't know. I don't think she deserves glaze at all. The only way you can glaze Pearl is if your expectations were in the absolute dirt. Right? Like, you would have had to think that this character would literally do nothing for these Elation teams, and then be surprised that they do something at all. And then you're like, oh, it's not that bad. But I've always had high expectations of Pearl. I've always had high expectations. So I guess for me, it's different. Like, I expect, for example, you got like Hyacine, right? The difference in release time between Hyacine and Pearl is nearly a year and a half, believe it or not. So I did expect like that new oh my god, voice crack. I did expect that new version type of buff in base kit in terms of how good they are for their best in slot team, but like Pearl doesn't have that. Like, in all honesty, she is kind of like a slightly weaker Hyacine in terms of how important she is for her best DPS. And then Hyacine is somehow also still more usable as a generalist sustain than Pearl is, which is just insane to say. Like, it's insane to say that Hyacine is more generalist than another sustain in this game. Because historically, I have been shitting on the fact that Hyacine sucks as a generalist sustain, but she is somehow better. But once again, this does not mean Pearl is bad. Just I'm a bit whelmed, given my expectations. Like, I promise if you are like a casual Elation player, just a casual player at all, you don't do sustainless shenanigans, I beg you to pull Pearl for Silverwolf teams. I beg you. It's gonna be so much fucking better, I promise. But, you know. I thought Pearl would have merrymaking in base kit. Merrymaking is never going to be in base kit, my friend. I think ever since the first Elation characters being like Sparksy and Yao Guang, they only have it behind their E6. It was a sign that it was way too expensive of a buff to put in base kit. It's all up to Nihilux and what she does for the Silverwolf team. I'm not a believer that Nihilux is going to do anything for the Silverwolf team at base. So, I'm not really one to participate in this conversation of Nihilux. I don't think Nihilux is going to be an upgrade for Silverwolf's team. I think she's just going to be a main DPS. She might have some things to turn her into a better sub DPS in early Eidolons, but I think base kit Nihilux is just going to be a main DPS. She's aha. That doesn't mean anything. I don't know why you guys think automatically that if a character is like an Eon or whatever, that means they're instantly going to be a support for everybody else who's following their path. Like, the only example of any main push in the history of this game supporting their team is Cyrene. She's the only one. And the guy, the Red Note leaker, who had the greatest track record of all these leakers so far, he said Nihilux was a main DPS at base. Like, at base. And at E2, she kicked out Sparksy and Silverwolf's team. But at base was a main DPS. So, of course, things can change. But, like, if you look at the current standing of old DPSs in their version currently, in their best sustain team, Silverwolf is now up there. Like, she's up there with the rest of everybody else from this version. So, to expect another upgrade that pushes her far away from everybody else in this version, although it's possible, I feel like it's a bit unlikely. I do feel it's more likely that she's just a main DPS. Herda is a support? What? One, Herda isn't even a main push. Two, what? Will you fold for S1 Hyacine? No. I'm like the number one guy who goes against getting Lycones. I only put pulls into that Lycone banner because I thought I had 40 pity in it. I didn't realize I was looking at my character banner pity. So it doesn't matter. It's always better to just get pity on the character banners instead. She technically gives crit damage. Yeah, but this is just a bunch of bullshit. Like, you can do this with a lot of DPSs these days, which is my point. Like, Cassie gives some damage bonus at base for Memo Sprites, and then she also has 20% res pen on her territory. Is Cassie all of a sudden a sub DPS now? You know? The same thing applies to Silverwolf. And Himeko, actually. Yeah. Like, a majority of these main pushes that are main DPSs, they have, like, something slight that, like, buffs the team. But that doesn't make them supports or something. You pulled Robin by accident? No, I didn't. I pulled Robin, and my Mono Rem team instantly cleared significantly better than my Cyrene one. That's why I pulled Robin. I just felt like it. I don't care that much, because even if this does lead to me not being able to get E2 Silverwolf instantly on rerun or Pearl or something, Pearl's probably going to rerun in like 3 to 4 patches anyways, and Silverwolf will also rerun fast, just because of who she is. My Saber team went from 6 cycle with Welt to 2 with Robin. Yeah, it's like really, really, really strong. Like, most of the people I noticed trying to, like, save face for Cyrene and underrate Robin's value were completely lying out of their asses. I was getting a little swayed, not gonna lie. Like, I was seeing some agenda posts by, like, Cyrene lovers of, like, oh, Robin isn't actually that much better than Cyrene. But now that she's officially out, I looked at way more stuff and way more things. Brother, I kid you not, in most scenarios, an E0 Robin beats an E2 Cyrene. There used to be this propaganda that, like, oh, at E2 Cyrene, no one beats E2 Cyrene. That E2 is way too strong. I'm like, hold up. There's no way the E2 can be this good, because in Mono Rem, it's not that good. Like, it's some true damage, and that's fucking it. You get a little bit of DPS action, sure. But that only matters for Evernight main DPS. That doesn't matter for Cassie teams as much. So I looked into it more, and it was bullshit. It was just complete bullshit. Robin was completely slamming, what's it called? Cyrene. E2 Cyrene Glaze is such an agenda. Yeah, I've been saying this for so long. Like, the only time I've ever genuinely glazed E2 Cyrene for any character is Phanon. That's the only one it makes sense for. Because the amount of value you get from the E2 from being able to change team compositions and sustainless more easily for Phanon, combined with the true damage increase, combined with the faster stacking, like, all of it is incredible for Phanon. But, like, if your name isn't Phanon, that shit's overrated. Unless you're running duo DPS Evernight and Cyrene. Then I could maybe change my mind. But then again, duo DPS Evernight and Cyrene would probably use Robin SP on the team anyways. So I'm not even wrong either. You could use someone else other than Robin, but... Yeah, Robin's pretty good with Faye. The only issue with Robin these days is if you want to go for vertical investment, the E1 is useless in any Cyrene type of team. The E1 is useless because you're never going to let the birds hit. Her old E2 used to, or her new E2 used to be part of the E1, which made the E1 investment good. But now it's shit for him. Phenon, idea for Phenon Nova Flare actually. You could make E1 Robin actually matter if in the future when Phenon gets a Nova Flare, you can actually choose to exit his ult on purpose. So you can stack up all the damage and then similar to a Cypher ult, you exit Phenon ult, you let the action bar do its thing, and then the birds hit after all the turns that Phenon has taken. The E1 could be useful if Phenon ever got that QOL. Issue with Phenon with Robin is the attack buff isn't as impactful. I mean, it's still pretty fucking strong, no? Considering how much Robin buffs attack, like, sure, it's not the best buff, but it's kind of a small thing to nitpick. Anyone that could read new E0 Cyrene was doomed. Well, apparently a lot of people can't read, my friend. My Cyrene videos are the ones that usually receive like the most coping in my comment sections. Pretty consistently. With people being like, oh, you can't expect every character to be broken. You're advocating for power. I hate this shit. You advocate for a kit that is actually worth pulling for a specific team. It doesn't even need to be power creep. It just needs to have good synergy, good verticals. You call out something in a character's kit that's shit, and people be like, "Oh, you're advocating for power creep. Oh, what happened to hating power creep?" It's so annoying. I absolutely hate it. Like, there are some people who get like insanely biased towards characters they like, and they are definitely advocating for power creep with how much buffs they want them to get. But like, I'm not one of those people, you know? Like, even when I'm talking about Pearl, for example, literally the only thing I wanted from Pearl was minor buffing with defense shred, speed buffing, or to have the increased punchline and certified banger from her E2 to be in base kit. Like, they are buffs, but they aren't game changing, right? I'm not asking her to be twice as effective, you know? It's like a 10% overall buff, a 15% overall buff max. That's all I really wanted if she wasn't going to be a generalist. Firefly is starting to struggle at 15 cost in AA. Power creep is crazy. Well, no. People told me Firefly didn't deserve a Nova Flare, and she didn't deserve Dahlia. So it's okay. You know? Oh, my poor Acheron that now has M-Blade and is getting a paid buff that is of much higher quality soon is treated so much worse than Firefly. I hate Firefly. Firefly doesn't deserve any buffs. She's doing so good. Look at the low-cost zero cycles. Shameless. Fucking shameless. This is why I made so many videos telling people they're idiotic for hating on Firefly getting buffs. These people don't understand this game's power creep and HP inflation. They think they live in a Wonderland world. Every version, wow, the power creep and HP inflation is way less at the beginning of a version. Wow, this game's getting so much healthier and so much better. There's no need for Firefly to even get anything. Every fucking time, I swear to God, without fail. Hello. Pearl Lycone is ass? Is it really that ass? How is 22% vulnerability bad? Or is it just that the Shroomy Lycone is goated? Go read the effect. I read it yesterday. I know the effect. It's like 22% vulnerability total. And then some defense buffing for her sustained capability. Shroomy is 12%. So you're paying an entire Lycone for 10% more vulnerability? Okay, yeah, that is pretty ass. Good point. I mean, I wouldn't be openly slandering her Lycone like this. They could pretty easily make it so that her Lycone has ER gen capabilities like Yao Guang's. And all of a sudden the Lycone value goes up because you get ults more consistently. Be careful what you wish for. Pearl be changed to a speed scaler? I mean, that is definitely one of the things that made absolutely no sense to me with Pearl's kit. Why is she a defense scaler? I'm genuinely, like, confused. Why is she a defense scaler? It would have been so much better if she was a speed scaler. Because with her being a defense scaler, like, Pearl is... You need to take like 3 turns with Pearl in order to get her ult, I imagine. I haven't seen any gameplay. I don't know if gameplay's out. I imagine you need to take like 3 turns with Pearl. This wouldn't be bad if you're a speed scaler. Because most of these Elation speed scalers, you know what you can get them to? 200 speed, right? 200 speed is enough for 3 turns in a 0 cycles 150 AV, right? But she's a defense scaler. You gotta focus on defense. And now you also got to try and focus on speed. But her Lycone, because she's not a speed scaler, does not buff speed. And she doesn't really have anything to accommodate for speed buffing. So she's a character who would work so much better if she was significantly faster. But she's not a speed scaler. She's a defense scaler. Like, why? Oh no, kind of weird. It was one of the observations I made yesterday. I don't know why a healer is defense scaling, but I mean, I guess they just want to be different, mix it up. Do you think she is better than Sustainless for Silverwolf? No. I mean, I already talked about it before. I don't think a sustain should get slandered for not being better than Sustainless these days. Because maybe in the past it made a little sense. Because the best supports were still kind of ass. At most, they increase your total damage output by like 50% usually. But these days, in like the Robin, SP, and M-Blade era, these characters legit double your overall damage. So, to expect a sustain to even be on the same tier or like on par with Sustainless with the best, newest, like Sustainless supports is a bit unrealistic. Much more than it used to be. Because buffing capability has just become a lot more in some of these supports. But the new AA, it makes me think they don't want you Sustainless. I mean, obviously. I'm not advocating for Sustainless. But Sustainless for max damage output is always going to be better than Sustain with Pearl. But yeah, like, this is why I say 99% of this game's player base, I'd recommend just pull Pearl for Silverwolf. I beg. Like, don't fall for the Doom posting. You're probably going to need her for clearing a lot of this endgame content currently. I don't even want to imagine if someone has no healing sustains. That King boss does double the damage against allies if you're using a shielding sustain. Like, they're trying to completely fuck over Dan Heng PT. This Pearl discussion is going to turn into Yao Guang dooming? Yeah, probably. I mean, still, Yao Guang dooming is a million times worse. At least Pearl has people glazing her a lot on social media currently, I think. But Yao Guang was just pure doom and gloom since her birth in the beta. At least make her better than Sustainless for Wolf? Brother, do you even know what that means? Like, respectfully. Once again, the newest supports can just double your damage. Like, sustained Silverwolf teams would legit be like 30 to 40% stronger than any other sustained team in the entire game. If Pearl was on par with Sustainless. That's not even including vertical investment. Pearl is already on par with Sustainless options? I don't think so. Really? Do current gameplays show Pearl being on the level of like Robin SP for Sustainless Silverwolf? I'm a bit doubtful. I'm gonna be honest. Give Pearl 50% merrymaking. Nice. Don't be surprised if she gets nerfed for Silver Wolf. Don't make me laugh. Don't make me fucking laugh. If Pearl gets nerfed for Silver Wolf, and it's like even slightly noticeable, this might be the worst, an actual AI generated character in terms of meta value. Actually AI generated, which is lore accurate to be fair. Actual AI generated kit. Do you think Eva will get a support? No. I've been saying this since the beginning of time. Since Earth was first created. If you are not a main push, 99% of the time say goodbye to dedicated teammates. You just gotta leech off of whatever the main push is getting, which is Evanesia's situation. She gets buffed, sure, but she doesn't get buffed as much as Silver Wolf, which is actually, you know, the current day thing, right? Like, Pearl favors Silver Wolf, I believe, the most out of all the Elation DPSs. Perfect example. I remember back when I was first talking about this, though, in like 4.2, and people were asking my opinion about it, they're like, ah, no way, dude. They're going to make like an EMC upgrade. I'm like, Yao Guang is the EMC upgrade. They're like, no, she's not. Yao Guang's getting replaced by Nihilux, and there's going to be an EMC upgrade for Evanesia. It's like, okay, man. Why does Hoyo hate my favorite characters? I mean, they don't hate them. They just love the main pushes more. You know? Nihilux will be Cyrene for Elation units. Give it up. I don't want you guys to be disappointed when that kit comes out and she's a main DPS. Just give it up while you can. Don't put your expectations this high. If she's a main DPS, why does a path have more DPS characters than supports? What? What does that even mean? Don't most paths have more DPSs than supports? Even Remembrance, when it first came out, Eggy main DPS. I guess RMC is free. Cassie main DPS. Hyacine sustain. Evernight is basically a main DPS that can work as a sub DPS. And then Cyrene is a support. Yeah, there's also Break. Break has 3 main DPSs. Well, 4, you know. A big-brained person says 4. Because a big-brained person, you know what they consider? Hunt March 7th. So 4 Break DPSs. Low Break supports. Oh, Shui Yi? No, we left Shui mid in 2025. Who is clearing endgame with Hunt March? E2 Dahlia and E2 Fugue owners. Don't sleep. They exist. They strike when the iron's hot. People complaining about Nihilux design. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't participated in this Nihilux design shit at all. Because, if I'm being dead honest, although it was cool that she had glasses, her new design is legit like 10 times better than her original one. If her original design stayed in her gameplay as the Eon of Elation, she probably it would have been like base Phanon. You know how you have like transform Phanon and then base Phanon? Nobody even looks at base Phanon in the gameplay. Nobody even cares about base Phanon. They all just look at transform Phanon and they're like, oh, Phanon looks cool as shit. Like that's, imagine base Phanon only on the Eon of Elation. Like that shit would have gotten boring real quick, in my opinion, for a lot of people. Yeah, there was some leak that Yao Guang and Nihilux have really good synergy together, where like they both have their separate AHA instance that can activate. So, pretty interesting. Got story spoiled? Son. If they put E2 in base kit, she'd probably beat Sustainless. Well, they're never putting E2 in base kit, so. They leaked her identity outside story spoilers a while back. I mean, it's been a theory for like a majority of Plan Arcadia. The second people noticed that she had the same VA as Aha, It was like, oh, wouldn't it be hilarious if she was Aha? And I'm not gonna lie, I was already on the bandwagon for it. So I was the least surprised, in all honesty. Phew! I had to get that one out. It was bothering me for a bit. Yeah, that's also interesting, I'm not gonna lie. The fact that Pearl's Eidolons don't alleviate her elation shilling at all, and in fact, they just push more elation. Because, like, the E2, I'm pretty sure only works with elation characters. It's like, if you're an elation character, you also get the action advance effect. The E1 is also elation damage buffing. Even Hyacine, once again, I used to consider Hyacine a pretty bad sustain generally, because she is niche. But, like, Pearl is on another tier. Like, even Hyacine's early Eidolons, 50% max HP increase, and healing when allies attack. Like, that's just general sustain capability that anybody can take advantage of. E2, 30% speed buff. Legit, anybody can take advantage of that. Any team. There's like no, oh, only HP scaling teams can use this. Any team can use an E2 Hyacine speed buff. That's why I was saying, I was like, I think I said in my previous video I made last night, I was like, I wish the E1 was defense tread buffing or something, you know? And then maybe the E2 had some way to alleviate the elation restriction. Because, like, imagine if you could alleviate the elation restriction on Pearl with her E2, and now you can get rid of Sparksy for Robin SP. That opens up a lot, right? Like, that would be... This is the equivalent, basically, of E2 Cyrene for Phanon, and what E2 Cyrene does for Phanon. Where you alleviate the restriction of needing a full Chrysos air team in order to comfortably get him in ult in sustainless, allowing you to start using characters like Robin SP and M-Blade and Nova Sparkle. It would have been cool to maybe see that in E2 Pearl as well. But maybe that's too strong for them. I don't know. Maybe it's too much. I'm not sure. Also, we don't know about Astra Yao. I think Astra Yao will be the second sustain for this version. You know, maybe they're cooking something up with Astra Yao. Who knows? I feel like Pearl was supposed to copy elation skills. Maybe? I plan to skip the whole of version 5 to E2 my Himeko Nova. Wish you luck. I'll probably end up folding. I don't care about Kafka, but I do kind of care about, like, what's her name? Firefly. I think there will be massive Pearl changes. I don't think she's going to get anything massive, to be honest. I don't think so. I think minor changes max, whether an early Eidolons or base kit. I don't think she's gonna suddenly get an insane glow up or anything at all. I actually think Hoyo is probably decently satisfied with current Pearl. I think they're decently satisfied. Because you guys need to understand, the problem with Pearl is she's kind of suffering the same problem. A great example I can use is Avin and Fua, right? Like, Pearl is definitely the best in slot sustain. Some people may be disappointed by how niche she is without giving enough of a return, but this is legit the issue with Avin and Fua. Like, Fua is already at a certain power level. They can only make Avin so strong, and if they make him too strong, then he's way too much stronger than other characters in the game. So the power scaling gets imbalanced. So they have to sacrifice Avin being a solidified best in slot in the Ashblade combo to make sure that the game balancing stays good. If they buff Pearl too much, the issue is, yes, now she actually has the value of for how niche she is, but Silverwolf teams are now like 30 to 40% stronger than any other team in the entire game in sustain. You know? Because Pearl massively favors Silverwolf, in my opinion, over any of the other Elation DPSs. So, Silverwolf is just far and far ahead of everybody else at that point. And I don't think they want that. I could be wrong, though. We'll see. Lavin can be replaced easier on Ashblade compared to Pearl in her team. The only reason Pearl is safer than Lavin in the Fua team is because sustain releases are really slow in this game. That's why Pearl is going to last longer than Avin as a best in slot. But Pearl, if they were to make a generalist sustain these days, and they had, let's say, like, I don't know, 50% damage bonus, maybe some defense shred, some vulnerability, their Lycone also has a buff on it, and they could work with Elation, that person would be competitive with Pearl and Elation teams. Just because of the buffing capability. Like, you guys need to understand, Pearl's fighting against nobodies in a Silverwolf team. Dawnhung PT's attack buffing does nothing because Silverwolf is a speed scaler. Wo energy regen, attack buffing, nothing. All it does is benefit Yao Guang's energy regen a little more in order to get Aha instance faster. There is no sustain in the entirety of the game who is generalist enough to actually help Silverwolf in the fucking slightest. So Pearl is automatically an upgrade. If you were to make a current day generalist sustain with a fair ass kit, they could be competitive against Pearl in Silverwolf's Elation team just because of better buffing. Like, this always goes back to the... I think this is the question I asked people when Dawnhung PT first released versus Hyacine and shit. I was like, would you rather have a generalist sustain at E1 or E0S1 who is competitive in niche teams but way better everywhere else, or an E0S0 niche sustain who is best in slot in their niche but isn't good anywhere else, right? And in my case, I always am a believer of I probably get the generalist sustain E1 or E0S1, make them competitive with the niche sustain in their niche, but then the generalist sustain is also way better everywhere else. It's kind of like a Robin SP situation. Well, actually, no, because Robin SP is already better than everybody in their niches for the most part. But you kind of get the point. I hate niche characters, yeah, you're not the only one. It's like a big thing for me too. Don't worry. Hoyo needs to understand that niche units won't sell that much. Niche units do sell, though, to be honest. And what's important with niche units that a lot of people forget, a lot of people, when they look at niche unit sales, they only look at one specific niche unit sales and they're like, oh, that's not that great. Niche units usually incentivize people to invest into other niche units if they already own them, which is where the niche gets you, right? A generalist character, you'll see most of their sales probably on the first day, and they won't necessarily sell any specific characters because anybody can use that sustain, right? But let's say you pull Silverwolf, who is a niche DPS. What are you now incentivized to do? Oh, you're also incentivized to invest into niche Yao Guang. She's basically only for Elation teams. Yao Guang sucks outside of Elation. Also Pearl. You're now also incentivized to pull Pearl because all the other sustain options for Elation are just abysmal, right? Pearl is easily better than all of them. That's what Hoyo gets out of creating niche characters. Is they get you to purchase even more of them consecutively, to build an entire team with them. I don't think it's bad for Silverwolf to be better than most DPSs because Evernight plus Irene was a 60% upgrade for Cassie. Pearl being better than Sustainless isn't that bad for power creep. Okay. You need to I've already explained it why it's not the same anymore. It's not the same anymore. For Pearl to be better than Sustainless, better, not even on par, better than Sustainless, she has to be more than a double performance increase for Silverwolf. More than that. You're comparing 60% from getting two different characters to one character doing more than 100%. Like, these are two completely different levels of like how much stronger some team gets. Completely different levels. Silverwolf should be the strongest DPS, to be honest, and she is. After this, she's really close, or she already is. And if you were to use vertical investment, Fua team has bad vertical investment after their early ones. Himiko also has good early investment, but it's mostly early. Elation is like... A Silverwolf's Elation team is one of the few in this entire version where you get returns on pretty late investment on basically all of them. Like, Elation is basically already at Mono Rem's level. They already are at this point. I wouldn't say they're on Mono Rem's level. That team has too much synergy between each other. Brother, I promise you, you are overrating the shit out of Mono Rem right now. Low cost Mono Rem is not as glorious as many of you think. That shit is so, like, Phanon beats low cost Mono Rem almost every fucking time. Unless it's a hyper optimized sustainless Evernight main DPS. Like, that type of Mono Rem can beat it. But, like, there are so many. Actually, I shouldn't say so many, that's a lie. But there are a few version 3 teams that are stronger than Mono Rem at so many different levels of investment. And Mono Rem doesn't even start winning until like fucking 10 plus cost. Because they have the best vertical investment. Like, Mono Rem is so overrated, I promise. I hate how overrated Mono Rem is. My Mono Rem uses Evernight main DPS sustainless. There you go. There you go. There you fucking go. I imagine. Yeah. That's usually like the absolute peak of Mono Rem. But yeah. It is interesting to talk about. It is interesting to talk about for sure. I don't know. The thing is, when I talk a lot about what I think Hoyo will do, what I think is going to happen, I am a lot of the times just wrong these days, I feel like. It's getting harder and harder for me to kind of predict how Hoyo wants to sell characters, how they want to do this, how they want to do that. Most of the time I am still right. But the amount of times I'm right are kind of going down as time goes on, I feel like. It's getting harder to predict what they want to do. Because they keep adding new mechanics, they add new things. And it makes it harder and harder to be like, yeah, this is definitely going to happen. Something like that. I do think Sparksy is staying on Silverwolf's team. Like, okay, if Nihilux is a main DPS at base, I was right about Sparksy. I'm currently on fraud watch for the Sparksy shit. I'm not gonna lie. Thank God Pearl came out. Current Pearl kit is like heavily trying to carry like, oh, you use Sparksy instead of Robin SP. Because I love 4 Elation. If you don't use 4 Elation with me, I don't even fucking matter. Right. That's basically Pearl's kit. Like, 4 Elation or just die. Which helps Sparksy value. But it's all up to Nihilux. If Nihilux is a main DPS, I was right about Sparksy. If she isn't a main DPS, I mean, go fuck myself, I guess. Have you seen the leaks about the Finality Path event? Yeah, I did. I saw I had like Firefly, Kafka, Whoa, Herda. But like, yeah, we'll see. I'm interested in what it might show. Lavin is better than Sparksy? No. I'm pretty sure Sparksy is a little better on a Pearl team than Avin is for Silverwolf. And Sparksy's vertical investment is also better than Avin's for buffing the entire team. Like, I'm going to be dead honest. I don't know where this propaganda of Avin being so much better than Sparksy even came from. But I'm pretty sure it's just not the case. I know a lot of people are agenda posting against Sparksy right now. But Avin is not... Even if he was slightly better pre-Pearl, it was not by that much. I can almost guarantee it. I feel like it's pretty overrated. The main purpose of Avin in the first place in Silverwolf teams is you basically treat him as the main DP. Like, it's just the personal damage, sure. But now that Pearl is able to action advance, and you can only select one target for Pearl in order to be the main DPS, that changes a lot. Because now Silverwolf is definitely the main carry of the team, which means getting buffs to, what's it called? Getting buffs and vertical investment with buffs to Silverwolf is much more important now than it used to be. Because the more Silverwolf turns, the more she carries the team's damage, the more buffing is better than another teammate's personal damage. But, like, if I'm being honest, I don't even know why people... Like, why is the sub-DPS option in Silverwolf's team even talked about so much? There's so much more optimal, quote-unquote, investment to be made on Silverwolf's team before you even touch the sub-DPS option. You have Silverwolf, Yao Guang, Pearl, E2 Silverwolf, E1 Yao Guang, E2 Pearl. Like, there's so much. Like, also S1 Silverwolf as well. So you have 4 cost on Silverwolf, 2 on Yao Guang, and 3 on Pearl. So you need to get to, like, the 9 cost mark before you even start worrying about the most optimal sub DPS on this team. Assuming you have access to EMC, though. If for whatever reason you're using RMC on another team and you can't free them up, then yeah, you're probably going to have to pull either Avin or Sparksy, I guess. I'd go Sparksy. Oh yeah, Evernight Doom posting was idiotic on her release. I remember I was a bit whelmed at Evernight in like V1 or something. V1 or V2. But then I came around and I realized, like, wait, her personal damage is actually high as shit. Right? Her E1 is busted. Her E2 is also fucking busted. So I started actually spreading the good word of Evernight. And it was only when I did that, I came to the realization, bro, Evernight was getting Doom posted disgustingly. Especially, it's always the mains of a specific newly releasing character who massively underrate their character every fucking time. If you went to Evernight mains during her beta, and you told them Evernight is, like, even just in a good spot, not great, not better than Cassie, which she is in a lot of cases, just say she's in a decent spot, they would be like, bro, Evernight without Hyacine's Lycone doesn't even function as a main DPS. Like, this was legit one of the arguments used against Evernight during her beta by a lot of people who were like, oh, she needs buffs. Without Hyacine's Lycone, she just doesn't work. She's so ass. That was one of the main things. On what level of power would you say Pearl's current E2 is? Well, it's much weaker than I originally thought it was, but it's still decently strong. I originally thought it was like a team-wide extra turn, but then I found out that the wording specifies that the other two teammates get an action advance. They don't get an extra turn. So they get 30% AA in mono elation. For example, Sparksy and Yao Guang, they'd get like a 30% AA. And then Silverwolf gets the buff. Also, the value of E2 Pearl does, in my opinion, change quite a lot depending on the DPS you're using, because it's specified that the ult buff from Pearl expires after that extra turn given ends. This means for Aven and Evanesia, in my opinion, it's nowhere near as strong as it is for Silverwolf. In Silverwolf's case, it is incredibly strong because even if the punchline disappears, the hidden MMR that she gained from it doesn't. So you get like an extra 120 MMR off the bat, instant extra turn for Silverwolf. Huge, huge, huge. And then you also get that 60 certified banger for that turn as well. So for Silverwolf, the E2 value is good. It's really good. It's one of the best investments she has probably on her team. For the other Elation DPSs, it's a lot weaker though. And it's not really like a must pull or anything in terms of investment, in my opinion. Advancing Sparksy without much skill point doesn't do much. No, it's fine. You'll still have some skill points available. And you need to understand that at the end of the day, these teams aren't going to be fully synergistic without their vertical investment. The main attraction of being able to advance Sparksy is if you have an E2 Sparksy. Because she just automatically has like free skill points available, her own version. I don't remember what it's called, but she can consume like certain stacks of something that she gets instead of skill points for her skill. And that's what it's most synergistic with. Eva gets like 90 energy with the extra turn. I'm not saying Eva doesn't benefit from it. I'm just saying Silverwolf benefits the most from it. Like, it's pretty clearly biased towards Silverwolf the most, in my opinion. The team never has a skill point problem with Sparksy from leaks. There you go. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I remember like one of the main copes against Yao Guang and the Elation team was, oh, you're not going to have enough skill point gen from Yao Guang. And now Sparksy's going to have so many turns where she has no skill. Oh my god. None of it ever ended up being true. Eva gets 90? I don't know. I don't play Evanesia. That's just what someone's saying in my chat. I don't play Evanesia at all. I don't look into her kit that much. So. Alright, chat. I'm going to end the stream here because I'm hungry. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Peace out.